There's a certain kind of woman men don't just like, they fall for. Not because she's the most beautiful in the room, not because she says all the right things, not because she plays games, acts mysterious, or manipulates emotions. Men fall for her because she carries a strength most people are terrified to embody, a strength that isn't loud or aggressive, a strength that doesn't need to prove itself, a strength that feels like calm confidence, emotional clarity, and self-respect wrapped in one. You see, there's a reason some women effortlessly rise above the noise of dating, while others are stuck trying to be good enough. She moves through the world already knowing she is enough. While others cling to a man out of fear, she chooses from a place of fullness, not scarcity. While others panic when things feel uncertain, she returns to herself, not to desperation. And men notice this instantly. Because men aren't drawn to pressure, they're drawn to presence. They don't fall for chaos, they fall for consistency. They don't commit to dependency. They commit to a woman who stands strong on her own feet and still chooses to walk beside them. The strength she carries shakes a man awake. It challenges him. It inspires him. It makes him realize that being with her is not something to take lightly. It's something to work for, to protect, and to rise up to. In this speech, we're going to dive into the some strengths that make a woman unforgettable. The strengths that make a man fall not just with his heart, but with his respect. Because when a woman learns to embody these truths, love stops being a battlefield and becomes a place where she leads from power, not fear. She is not afraid to walk away, even if she wants him. There is a moment in every romantic connection where attraction is no longer the question. You like him, you feel the spark, you enjoy the conversations, the chemistry, the possibility of what could be. You start imagining a future, not because you're desperate, but because it feels natural. This is when emotional investment begins. And this is also when the real test of your strength shows up. Because right when things start to feel good, something else often happens. His effort dips. The consistency fades. The calls become less frequent. The excitement becomes a routine. And suddenly, instead of feeling pursued, you feel assumed. Most women panic at this point. Their instinct is to try harder, to make up for the effort he stopped giving. They text first. They compromise more. They shrink their needs to avoid conflict. They try to keep the peace by keeping quiet. And all of this comes from one silent fear. If I pull away, I'll lose him. But the woman with real inner power, the woman men fall hardest for, operates from a very different belief. If I stay while being undervalued, I'll lose myself. That is the strength most people are afraid of. The strength to leave even when your heart wants to stay. The strength to protect your dignity over protecting the relationship. The strength to say, I choose me, when he stops choosing you. Walking away doesn't mean you stopped caring. It means you stopped negotiating your worth. It means you refuse to audition for a role you already earned. It means you will not beg to be seen, heard, or prioritized. And here's what men never expect. Your absence teaches him something your presence never could. When you step back, his mind wakes up. The silence becomes louder than your words ever were. Your distance forces him to feel something he took for granted, the loss of access to you. He starts remembering the little things, your energy, your warmth, your consistency, your support, things he assumed would always be there, things he subconsciously believed he didn't have to work for. And this is when everything changes. Suddenly, he realizes your standards were not a performance. They were real. Suddenly, he remembers that your time is a privilege, not a guarantee. Suddenly, he understands that you are not the kind of woman who stays in situations where she's treated as an option. Your willingness to walk away becomes the mirror he didn't know he needed. It exposes where he fell short, not because you punished him, but because you removed yourself from a place where you weren't being valued. Men fall hard for women who have this kind of strength because it's rare. Most people cling out of fear. Most people settle for breadcrumbs because they're terrified of starting over. Most people hang on to potential, even when the reality is draining them. But the woman who can walk away, calmly, respectfully, without drama, communicates a message that hits deep. I care about you, but I will not abandon myself to keep you. That is not manipulation. That is not a game. That is alignment. There is nothing more attractive than a woman who knows her worth and is willing to act on it. Nothing commands respect faster. Nothing awakens a man's effort more intensely. Nothing creates emotional gravity like the realization that you are not afraid to lose him because you trust yourself more than you desire him. A man does not fall for the woman who tolerates disrespect. He falls for the woman who won't. He falls for the woman who values her heart enough to protect it. He falls for the woman who would rather be alone than poorly loved. He falls for the woman who chooses herself even if it breaks her heart to walk away. That is strength. That is confidence. That is emotional maturity. And that is the kind of woman who stays unforgettable. She doesn't chase emotion. She invites IT. There's a kind of woman whose presence feels like gravity, subtle, steady, and undeniably powerful. She doesn't need to chase affection, force connection, or convince any man to feel something for her. Her strength is quieter than that. It lies in her ability to invite emotion instead of running after it. And that strength, although rare, is one of the deepest forms of attraction a man can experience. See, men don't chase people. They chase the feelings people bring out in them. They chase inspiration, challenge, mystery, excitement, safety, warmth, the emotional experience. When a woman understands this, she stops trying to earn emotions from a man and instead focuses on evoking them naturally. The strongest women operate differently. They don't overshare their life story on the first date because they want to build closeness. They don't pour out all their energy before a man has shown consistency. They don't emotionally sprint while he's still at a jog, hoping that if they run fast enough, he'll catch up. This woman knows that attraction isn't built by flooding someone with emotion. It's built by pacing the connection, step by step. And her emotional pacing is intentional. She isn't cold, she's measured. She isn't distant, she's grounded. She isn't unavailable. She's simply choosing where her energy flows. She has the kind of self-awareness that keeps her from giving too much too soon. She understands that emotional intimacy is a two-way street, not a solo performance. Instead of throwing her heart forward, hoping he'll catch it, she lets the relationship unfold in a rhythm that feels natural, not rushed. This woman stays connected, but she never abandons herself. She is fully present, but not over-invested. She is warm, but not melting into him. She gives the right amount of vulnerability, not as a tactic, but because her emotional intelligence teaches her to reveal herself in layers, not in one overwhelming wave. And here's what makes that so powerful. A man feels safe with a woman who knows how to pace her emotions. Not smothered, not pressured, not overwhelmed. He feels invited into her world instead of pulled or dragged into it. Men fall deeply for women who create space for emotion to grow naturally. This kind of woman understands something most people never learn. You cannot force someone to feel ready. You cannot push intimacy into existence. You cannot create closeness by performing emotional labor for both people. She knows that if a man isn't building emotional intimacy with her, no amount of her efforts, no amount of chasing, texting, explaining, or proving will make him do it. Emotion that is not reciprocated becomes emotional exhaustion. And the woman with real strength refuses to exhaust herself for love. This is not about playing hard to get. It's about knowing that real connection only forms when both people move toward each other, not when one person runs ahead hoping the other will follow. Her boundaries are subtle but unmistakable. She shares, but she doesn't unload. She listens, but she doesn't lose her voice. She invests, but she never out-invests. This balance is rare because it requires discipline. It requires the courage to let someone meet you halfway instead of doing all the emotional heavy lifting. It requires the confidence to hold space instead of filling it. It requires the maturity to let things flow instead of forcing an outcome. And here's what happens. When a man experiences this emotional balance, he becomes more attentive, more curious, more invested, more aware of how he feels when he's around her. He feels drawn to her without even knowing why. Her presence feels like alignment, not pressure. Her energy feels like safety, not fear. Her pace feels like respect, not rush. She becomes unforgettable, not because she demands emotion, but because she inspires it. Men fall hard for women who know how to invite emotion instead of chasing it, because this kind of woman is rare. Rare in her emotional maturity, rare in her pacing, rare in her balance of warmth and boundaries, rare in her ability to be open without being overwhelming, and rare in a world full of rushed, pressured, uneven emotional dynamics, is the kind of strength a man never forgets. She communicates boundaries without fear or drama. There is a powerful shift that happens in a woman's life the moment she realizes that boundaries are not weapons, threats, or ultimatums. They are clarity. They are the simple, confident expression of what she needs in order to feel respected, valued, and emotionally safe. And while many people fear setting boundaries because they fear losing someone, the strongest women understand that the only thing you lose by staying silent is yourself. Most people avoid boundaries because they associate them with conflict. They worry that speaking their truth will push someone away. They're afraid of hearing, "That's too much," or "You're asking for something I can't give." But the woman with this kind of strength recognizes something far more important. If a boundary scares someone off, that person was never capable of loving her the way she deserves. So she communicates directly. She says what she feels, not to control him, but to honor herself. She expresses her needs, not because she's demanding, but because she knows emotional needs are not weaknesses. She states clearly what she will and won't tolerate, not to provoke conflict, but to create alignment. And she does it with a calm, grounded energy that hits differently. She doesn't scream. She doesn't guilt trip. She doesn't throw emotional grenades. She doesn't storm off or weaponize silence. Her boundary is her clarity, not her chaos. This is powerful because it creates a dynamic that men rarely experience. There are no guessing games, no mixed signals, no figure it out yourself, no emotional riddles he has to decode. Her presence becomes emotionally safe, not because she bends to accommodate everything, but because she is honest about what she needs. Men, even the ones who pretend otherwise, crave this kind of emotional structure. It gives them direction, certainty, and confidence in how to show up. A woman with boundaries is not difficult. She is consistent. She is self-assured. She is emotionally responsible, and that's why a man falls hard for her. Her calm truth is strong enough. She doesn't need to persuade anyone to treat her right. She doesn't need to sell her standards. She doesn't need to fight to be understood. She simply communicates and then watches how he responds. His reaction tells her everything she needs to know, not about her worth, but about his capacity. And here's the part men never forget. A boundary-setting woman is rare because she refuses to abandon herself in the name of keeping the peace. She knows the difference between peace and silence. Peace is mutual respect. Silence is self-erasure. She chooses peace. So when she says something like, "I need communication that's consistent," or "I value effort, not excuses," or "I don't stay where I'm confused," she's not asking too much. She's revealing the minimum. This clarity forces a man to do something uncomfortable, to evaluate whether he can meet her where she stands. And men fall for this because it challenges them to rise. It awakens the part of them that wants to be strong, responsible, dependable, and masculine. It tells them, "I choose you, but I will not shrink for you." A woman who communicates boundaries becomes unforgettable because she creates a space where love can grow honestly. She teaches a man that connection is built on truth, not performance. And she shows him that love doesn't have to be dramatic to be powerful. It can be steady, simple, and sincere. And here's the thing. The man who is meant for her won't just respect those boundaries. He will rise to meet them. He will see her needs not as burdens, but as opportunities to show up better. He will see her clarity not as pressure, but as guidance. He will see her strength, not as a threat, but as something deeply, irresistibly attractive, because a woman who knows her boundaries knows her worth. And a woman who knows her worth is the kind of woman a man falls for. Hard, deeply, and willingly, she lives a life bigger than him. There is a moment in a man's mind when he meets a certain kind of woman, a woman whose life is already full, already meaningful, already rich with purpose, and something inside him shifts. He realizes she isn't looking for a man to complete her life. She's looking for someone who can join her life. And this realization ignites a level of attraction deeper than physical chemistry, deeper than flattery, deeper than the superficial thrill of attention. A woman who lives a life bigger than him is magnetic because she carries something many people never develop, a world that does not revolve around romantic validation. She has a mission. She has passions that light her up. She has goals that challenge her. She has a sense of direction that existed long before he walked in and will exist long after he leaves, if he leaves. Her identity is not shaped by whether he texts back. Her day is not ruined because his communication is inconsistent. Her self-worth is not tied to his approval, attention, affection, or emotional availability. She is not sitting by the phone waiting to be chosen. She is out living, building, creating, evolving, growing. She is moving through her life with purpose and momentum, and that momentum is intoxicating. This kind of woman doesn't orbit around a man's world. Instead, she invites him into her own, a world that is already vibrant and fulfilling. She is not asking him to build her life. She is asking him to add value to it. That difference is everything. Because here's something men won't always say out loud. They fall hardest for the woman they fear losing the most. And that woman is never the one who waits, pauses, or shrinks her world for him. It's the one who stays in motion, who keeps growing, who keeps rising. A woman who has her own life activates something primal in a man. She awakens his desire to step up, to be worthy, to match her drive, to keep pace with her ambition. She inspires him to become better, not because she demands it, but because her life naturally calls for it. A man looks at her and thinks, to be in her life, I must bring something of value. I can't coast. I can't be passive. I can't lose her. She's going somewhere. This is not pressure. This is inspiration. This is attraction at its deepest form. She is not intimidating, she is elevating, and she never weaponizes her success or independence. She doesn't need to talk about how busy she is. She doesn't brag about her goals, she simply lives them. Her presence alone tells the story. She is a woman with direction. She is a woman with structure. She is a woman who has cultivated a life that fulfills her emotionally, mentally, financially, spiritually, and that makes her unforgettable. Men don't fall for a woman who needs them to breathe. They fall for the woman who breathes on her own and invites them into her oxygen-rich world. A man falls hard for the woman who doesn't pause her dreams to maintain his attention, doesn't shrink her plans to accommodate his inconsistency, doesn't drown in romantic fantasy while her real life withers, doesn't sacrifice her passions to carry the emotional weight of the relationship, because he knows that losing her doesn't just mean losing a companion. It means losing the chance to be part of something meaningful, evolving, alive. She becomes the kind of woman he respects, the kind he values, the kind he thinks about long after the date is over. She becomes the standard by which he measures other women, not because she's better, but because she's full. Her life is not waiting to begin. It is happening now, with or without him. And that is the exact reason he works harder to stay in it, not because she needs him, but because she doesn't. When a woman lives a life bigger than him, he doesn't want to slow her down. He wants to keep up. She controls her reaction, not his behavior. There is a certain kind of woman who becomes unforgettable, not because she's the loudest, the boldest, or the most dramatic, but because she is emotionally disciplined in a way most people never learn to be. Her strength isn't in controlling a man, predicting his behavior, or trying to influence his choices. Her strength lies in something far deeper and far rarer. She controls herself. In a world where most people are reactive, triggered, defensive, anxious, or emotionally scattered, she stands out because she stays centered. She doesn't let someone else's inconsistency hijack her peace. She doesn't let mixed signals push her into panic. She doesn't let uncertainty send her spiraling into overthinking, over-explaining, or over-giving. When he pulls back, she doesn't collapse. She doesn't chase. She doesn't beg for clarity from someone who isn't offering it. She notices the shift, acknowledges it, and adjusts her energy accordingly. This is not coldness. It's emotional intelligence. It's the understanding that if someone is unsure, the worst thing she can do is try to convince them. It's the wisdom to know that if a man is inconsistent, she doesn't need to match his instability. She just needs to create distance. It's the strength to recognize that his behavior is information, not a personal attack. She doesn't take a man's uncertainty as a sign to work harder. She takes it as a sign to work less. If he shows hesitation, she doesn't panic. She becomes observant. Instead of trying to fix the energy, she reads the energy. Instead of trying to control the outcome, she controls her response. And this emotional maturity is unbelievably attractive to a man, especially to a man who is used to emotional volatility, pressure, or reaction-based communication. Because when he encounters a woman who cannot be shaken into fear, something profound happens inside him. He realizes, this is a woman I cannot manipulate. This is a woman I cannot play games with. This is a woman who will walk away before she lets me disrupt her peace. This is a woman who requires the best version of me, or she will find it elsewhere. A woman who controls her reactions holds the emotional power in the dynamic, not because she dominates it, but because she refuses to surrender her inner calm to someone else's behavior. This calm confidence is magnetic. Men fall hard for emotional stability, even if they don't articulate it. Not perfection, not emotional shutdown, not pretending she doesn't care, but the quiet strength of someone who knows her worth so deeply that she doesn't respond from insecurity. She speaks when needed, but never from panic. She expresses herself, but never to force an outcome. She sets boundaries, but never from anger, from clarity. Her emotional presence tells a man everything he needs to know. I'm not here to control you. I'm here to choose how I respond to you. And that difference creates a dynamic where a man feels both challenged and safe. Challenged because he knows he can't slack, disappear, or breadcrumb without consequences. Safe because he knows she won't explode, attack, or emotionally destabilize the relationship. Her steadiness softens him. Her groundedness inspires him. Her inner calm makes him want to be the kind of man who brings peace, not chaos. And she becomes unforgettable because emotional strength is rare. Most people react. Most people project. Most people jump to conclusions, overcorrect, or try to control. But she chooses her reaction with intention. She understands that emotional self-control isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about directing them. It's about responding from wisdom, not fear. It's about valuing inner peace more than temporary validation. And that is the kind of strength a man feels deeply. It's the strength that makes him take her seriously. It's the strength that makes him show up differently. It's the strength that makes him fall. Not because she makes him feel needed, but because she makes him feel inspired. A woman who controls her reaction doesn't just attract a man. She elevates the kind of man who is drawn to her. She chooses him, but she never depends on him. There is a certain kind of woman who changes a man forever, not because she needs him, not because she clings to him, not because she rearranges her whole life for him, but because she chooses him freely, from a place of power, not dependency. And that choice hits different. It wakes a man up. It rewires the way he sees connection, responsibility, and love. Because here's the truth. Most people enter relationships from a place of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of losing someone, fear of not being enough, fear of being replaced. So they attach, they cling, they merge their identity with the other person, and they call it love. But it isn't love. It's survival. The woman with true emotional strength does the opposite. She doesn't choose a man because she's afraid of being alone. She's perfectly capable on her own. She doesn't choose him because she can't function without him. She's already functioning beautifully. She doesn't choose him because he fills some void. Her life is already full. Her happiness was built long before he arrived. Her sense of worth isn't borrowed from his attention. Her identity isn't based on whether he stays or goes. She chooses him because she wants him, not because she needs him. And that is where the power lies. A man feels the difference instantly. There's no desperation in her energy, no silent expectations, no emotional debt he must pay, no pressure to keep her together or complete her. Instead, he feels something rare, freedom and responsibility at the same time. Freedom, because she doesn't suffocate his individuality. Responsibility, because he knows he must earn his place in her world. This woman brings a level of emotional independence that forces a man to rise, because she isn't waiting around to be chosen. She's evaluating. She's observing. She's deciding if he aligns with her values, her peace, her goals, and her life. And a man realizes suddenly, she can walk away from me at any moment and still be whole. That awareness is humbling. It's grounding. It's magnetic. It makes him want to be better, not because she demands it, but because her presence calls it out of him. She does not rely on him for emotional survival. She does not collapse into panic when he pulls back. She does not lose herself in the relationship. Instead, she maintains her world, her friendships, her passions, her plans, her identity. She is connected, but not consumed, intimate, but not dependent, loving, but not losing herself. And this is what men fall in love with deeply and permanently. Because being chosen by someone who doesn't need you, but still wants you, is one of the most powerful feelings on earth. It tells him, you're not here because you can't live without me. You're here because you believe your life is richer with me in it. And that makes him want to match her energy. It makes him want to protect the connection. It makes him show up with consistency, not convenience. It makes loyalty feel natural, not forced. It makes commitment feel like a privilege, not an obligation. This kind of woman doesn't fear losing a man. She fears losing herself. And that is why he never wants to lose her. Because when he looks at her, he realizes something life-changing. She is with me because she chooses me. And if I don't show up, if I don't honor that, if I don't respect what we were building, she will walk away with the same strength she walked in with. That is the kind of strength men fall for. The kind they treasure, the kind they protect, the kind they commit to, the kind they don't dare take for granted, and the kind of love that lasts, not because she depended on him, but because she chose him from a place of power. At the end of the day, here's the truth. Most people never understand. Men don't fall hard for women who beg, bend, chase, or lose themselves trying to be chosen. Men fall hard for women who are grounded in themselves. Women who move through the world with strength, purpose, and emotional clarity. Not because these women are perfect, not because they never feel fear or doubt, but because they lead with self-respect. All 6 strengths we talked about share one foundation. She knows who she is. She is not shaped by a man's inconsistency. She is not defined by his approval. She is not controlled by his reactions. She is not held hostage by the fear of being alone. She shows up with a whole life, a whole heart, and a whole identity, and invites him to join her, not rescue her. And that is why he falls, because this kind of woman is rare. She is refreshing. She is grounding. She is unforgettable. She doesn't ask a man to save her. She asks him to respect her. She doesn't try to possess him. She inspires him. She doesn't demand love through pressure. She creates love through presence, boundaries, confidence, and emotional peace. When a man meets a woman like this, a woman who chooses him but never depends on him, a woman who cares deeply but never loses herself, he realizes he has encountered something extraordinary, something he cannot treat casually, something he does not want to risk losing. And here's what I want you to take with you. A woman's greatest power is not how much she gives, but how much she honors herself while giving. The world may fear strong women, but men, real men, fall hardest for them. Because strength paired with softness, independence paired with connection, confidence paired with heart, that is a love worth staying for, a love worth showing up for, a love worth choosing, again and again.